It's late morning, maybe afternoon. You've been awake for hours, and you're still in bed, not sleeping, just lying there, phone in hand, scrolling through nothing, watching the light move across the wall. There are things you're supposed to do. You can see them hovering at the edge of your mind, and you just can't. Your body feels welded to the mattress. It's not that you're tired exactly. It's not that you're sad exactly. You just cannot make yourself get up and face the day. And underneath it all, that little voice. You're being so lazy. You're wasting your life. What is wrong with you? There's even a name for it now. People call it bed rotting. So tonight, let's talk about it honestly. Because the reason you can't get out of bed is not laziness. It's something your body is doing on purpose to protect you. And once you understand it, you can stop punishing yourself for it. First, the relief. It is not just you, and it is not a moral failure. Surveys have found that a huge share of young people now regularly spend whole days in bed, not sick, just rotting, hiding. It's become so common it earned its own name and its own little corner of the internet. So whatever this is, you are in enormous company. Millions of people lying in millions of beds at this exact moment, feeling the exact same pull and the exact same guilt, which already tells you it's not some personal defect. It's a response, a very human one. So let's understand what your body is actually trying to do. You've probably heard of fight or flight, the body's two famous responses to danger. You face a threat, and your system either gears up to fight it or to run from it. But there's a third response that almost nobody talks about, and it's the key to this whole thing. When a threat feels too big, too constant, or impossible to escape, when there's nothing to fight and nowhere to run, the nervous system does something else entirely. It shuts down. It freezes. Think of an animal that goes limp and plays dead when it can't win and can't flee. That's not weakness. That's an ancient survival strategy. When the world is overwhelming and escape feels impossible, the body conserves everything, powers down, and waits for it to be safe again. That shutdown has a feeling. And the feeling is, I cannot move. I just need to lie here. So here's what's really happening under that blanket. Your modern life doesn't have one clear tiger to run from. It has 100 small, constant, unrunnable pressures. Work, money, messages, the news, the endless to-do list, the vague dread about the future. None of it is a danger you can fight or flee. Therefore, faced with a threat it can't beat and can't escape, your overwhelmed nervous system reaches for its last option: freeze. Shut down. Stay small and still and safe. And the bed, your bed, is the single safest place in your entire world. It's warm. It asks nothing of you. It has zero demands. So of course your exhausted, overwhelmed system wants to stay there. It's not avoiding life because it's lazy. It's hiding from a world that's been asking too much for too long. But then comes the part that turns a rest into a trap. Because you don't just lie there peacefully, you lie there with the phone. And the scrolling gives your numb brain little flickers of fake stimulation, just enough to keep you horizontal, never enough to actually restore you. So hours pass, and you feel no more rested than when you started. And worse, much worse, is the guilt. That voice listing everything you're failing to do, calling you lazy, watching the day disappear. And here's the cruel mechanism. That guilt is itself a stress. It's another threat, another pressure piled on top of the overwhelm that froze you in the first place. Therefore, the shame doesn't get you up. It pushes you deeper into the freeze. You feel bad for hiding, which makes you need to hide more. The guilt is the quicksand. The more you struggle against yourself, the deeper you sink. And that's the doom loop so many people are quietly stuck in. Overwhelmed, so you freeze. Frozen, so you scroll. Scrolling, so you don't recover. Not recovering, so you feel guilty. Guilty, so you freeze harder. Round and round, while whole days vanish from under the covers. And the scariest part is how it makes you feel about yourself. Like you're disappearing, like life is happening in another room you can't get to, like you're watching your own existence through a window you can't open. That's the real weight of bed rotting. Not the lost hours. The slow erosion of your sense that you're someone who can show up for your own life. And underneath the freeze, there's usually a second engine running: avoidance. Somewhere out there is a task, a message you're scared to send, a responsibility you're dreading, a problem you don't know how to face, and getting out of bed means facing it. So staying down feels safer. But here's the cruel part. The thing you're avoiding doesn't shrink while you hide from it. It grows. The unanswered message gets more awkward. The undone task gets more urgent. The problem looms larger. Therefore, facing it tomorrow feels even more impossible than facing it today. So you hide a little longer, and it grows a little more. Avoidance always charges interest. And it's worth gently naming one more thing. There's a difference between resting and collapsing. Real rest leaves you a little restored. This kind of staying down leaves you emptier, because it isn't recovery, it's a shutdown. If the bed has been swallowing your days like this for weeks on end, that's not a character flaw to muscle through. It can be a sign your body and mind are genuinely depleted, even quietly depressed. And that's exactly the kind of thing worth saying out loud to someone you trust, or a professional. Reaching for help there isn't weakness. It's the same instinct as reaching for the white flag, honest and brave. So, take a breath. Because here's the turn. There is nothing wrong with resting in bed. Genuinely. A slow morning under the covers can be real, restorative rest, and you're allowed to have it without earning it. But when staying in bed becomes a daily escape you can't climb out of, that's not laziness, and it's not something to force your way out of with discipline and self-hatred. It's your body waving a white flag. It's the most honest signal you have, telling you something true. I am overwhelmed, I don't feel safe, and I need the demands to come down. The bed isn't the problem. The bed is where you've retreated because everything outside it feels like too much. And that is information, not a verdict. And once you understand it's a freeze, not a flaw, the way out gets gentle and surprisingly small. You don't haul yourself out of a freeze by screaming at yourself. That just adds more threat. You melt it, slowly, with tiny signals of safety. Not get up and fix your whole life. Just sit up, put your feet on the floor, open the curtains an inch and let some light in. Drink one glass of water. Open a window. Each tiny movement quietly tells your nervous system the danger has passed. It's okay to come back online. And just as importantly, drop the guilt, because the guilt is the heaviest thing in the room. You're allowed to have moved slowly today. Then, gently, look at what's actually overwhelming you underneath, because the bed is the symptom, not the sickness. The exhaustion under the blanket is the real message. And try, if you can, to stop treating the bed like the enemy and yourself like a soldier who went AWOL. The bed isn't sabotaging you. It's the one place that finally felt safe enough to stop, and your body ran to it for a reason. Once you start listening to what it's telling you, that the demands are too high, that you haven't felt safe in too long, that something needs to change, the pull to hide loosens on its own. You don't have to fight your way out of the freeze. You have to make the rest of your life feel a little safer, so your body doesn't need to keep hitting the brake. The way out isn't more force. It's more gentleness. But before any of that, here is what I most need you to hear. Wanting to disappear into your bed does not make you lazy, or weak, or a failure. It means you have been carrying far too much, for far too long, and your body finally pulled the emergency brake to protect you. Freezing is not a character flaw. It's one of the most ancient, protective things a nervous system can do. And the very fact that you feel guilty about it, that part of you is aching to get up and live fully, proves that you are not lazy at all. Lazy people don't lie their longing to do better. You're not avoiding life because you don't care. You're hiding from it because you've been overwhelmed by how much you do care and how much you've been holding. Resting is not failing, and you are allowed to rest, even when you haven't earned it. Especially then. So tomorrow, when the bed has you welded down again, don't declare war on yourself. Just try one tiny, kind thing. Feet on the floor, curtains open, one glass of water, and let that be enough of a victory for now. Set the guilt down. It was never helping. And remember that the pull to hide isn't your enemy. It's a tired, overwhelmed part of you asking, gently, to finally feel safe. Listen to it. Be kind to it. It's been protecting you this whole time. And if you've lost whole days to that bed, hating yourself the entire time, you are so far from alone in it. There's a quiet crowd of us, learning to climb out gently, together. So stick around. We make these for mornings like that. Take care of yourself. And go easy. One small step is a real one.